Welcome Game Chasers everywhere to episode 18 of Collecting Confidant with your host, Gunstar Hero. And I'm back this week with another classic that almost never saw the light of day for release and finally got a re-release courtesy of Strictly Limited Games, which we're very fond of this channel. This week we're talking about Ultracore, which originally came out physically for the PS4 and Switch back in 2019, is now open for PS5 pre-order. It's still in development, but you can now get it, and there's only like 1,000 copies. We'll get into the physical copy soon, and before we do that, let's get into the game's very cool history, the hardcore nature of this game itself, and why you should consider this if you like to be punished during your electronic journeys. Okay, so Ultracore. This was developed by Digital Illusions, better known today as DICE. Of course, you would know them better as the makers of Battlefield and Star Wars Battlefront and Mirror's Edge. This was something they were working on back in the 90s, and this was originally developed for the Genesis, the Sega CD, and the Amiga. And this was intended as a quote-unquote Euro-style 2D run-and-gun shooter in the vein of games like Turrican, Contra, but even more hardcore. And funny enough, that was actually the original name for this game, but due to licensing issues, it was eventually renamed Ultracore. So let's talk about the game, the mechanics, what it's all about. We'll get into the history and then the physical editions. So the game itself, like I said, is a 2D run and gun, pixel art with two different soundtracks. You get the original FM Genesis soundtrack you can choose between, which I admit is a little tinny and gets a little irritating after a while. I opted more for the CD soundtrack, which was intended for the Sega CD release. Much more fluid, and also some cool Middle Eastern touches, which I thought were kind of cool. But the game itself is for people who love a challenge, and I'm talking about a heavy challenge. This game does not mess around. It demands the best of you. It demands perfection. It demands obedience to its design and a reverence for its systems. Now, you start off with 3 lives, 3 continues, and what the game uses is a very unique password save system of multiple alphanumeric characters that record your entire progress across the 5 stages. So every time you complete a level, it's going to record how many lives you have left, how much ammo you have, how many continues you're able to keep in your save, and this will port over from level to level. And believe me, this game is so punishing and brutal. You will want to redo each level again and again until you get the best possible outcome so you can get the best possible password. Because let's say, for example, you have an amazing run of level 1 and then you go in and botch level 2. At least you can go back to the beginning of it with all your continues intact and how many lives you're able to earn and keep it going, because believe me, you're going to need everything. You're going to need all your ammo. You need the best of everything. This game has a very unique shooting system, okay? So it's got strafing, it's got multi-directional shooting, and it's gonna take some time getting used to. It's gonna seem a little off-putting at first, but what's funny about it, and if you think about it, because of course DICE, who originally made this game, they're famous for doing the Battlefield games. After a while, this game starts to feel like a first-person shooter turned on its side. It has that very incredible sense of motion, very precise, and that's again what the game demands. It demands precision, especially in terms of the jumping and the platforming mechanics. So for example, let's say you need to reach a higher level off a moving platform. You got to wait till the platform reaches a specific level so that you can launch yourself in the right way. And also in the last level, when you finally get to the 5th stage, there are these moving side-scrolling platforms which you have to run across and launch yourself off of to get off these chasms. It is infuriating, but the game is so well designed and addictive that it just kept me coming back for more. And maybe because I'm a masochist, and I guess if you're a masochist yourself, you like to get slapped upside the head in a game setting, this will do it over and over. This game will beat the ever-living life out of you. It took me a whole day just to master that 5th stage. I was losing my mind yesterday, but for some reason, like an idiot, I kept coming back over and over. Finally, 3 a.m., I gave up. I said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do a partial review of this game. Say, I got close to doing the final boss. Maybe I'll come back to it someday. I still recommend it, but no. I got it this morning with a mission, and I said to myself, Mike, you got this. Gunstar, you got this. I just revealed my real name anyway. You got this. You can do this. I had my coffee. I woke up and I steamrolled over that final boss with just a little bit of health left. And man, it was just like orgasmic. The feeling of accomplishment of having finally bested this monster. Wow, this game is just something else and really is indicative of some of the amazing work that DICE would go on to do. So let's get into the history of this game and how it almost never came to be. So we're going back to the early 90s here, specifically around 1994. DICE, or better known as Digital Illusions back in the day, they'd been working on this for the Genesis, the Sega CD, and the Amiga, and it was intended to be one of those like swan songs of the 16-bit era, and publishing this game was Psygnosis, okay? So around this time of 1994, we were just on the cusp of the 32-bit era starting, so the Sony PlayStation was on the horizon, along with its flashy 3D graphics, and unfortunately, Psygnosis got a little concerned about the sales viability of putting out a Genesis game in 1994, so after a lot of humming and hawing, and the game was like 99% complete at this point, they unfortunately decided to scrap it. So this game was left to the digital ether for almost 25 years. Some videos surfaced from time to time on YouTube, and even in 2010, and this was at the 2010 Datastorm Exposition for Commodore enthusiasts, two of DICE's co-founders, Andreas Axelsson and Olaf Gustafsson, actually showed off a demo of the game, showing that, hey, this thing did exist at one point, and we haven't forgotten about it. Well, later on, August 2018 to be exact, German publisher Strictly Limited Games announces that they intend to finish the game and re-release it, along with the help of one of DICE's co-founders, Fredrik Liljegren, and a lot of the former DICE staff, to go in and finish this game using the original Genesis software development kit. And their intention was to put this out for the PS4 and the PS Vita. Why, Sony asked? Well, by this time, Sony had actually purchased the rights to Psygnosis and all of their back catalog. But of course, later on in 2019, when they announced the physical pre-order, they also said that a Switch version was going to come out. So the timeline of releases, we had March 25th, 2019. The first release of the game came bundled with Analog's Genesis clone console. So this was actually a packing game. This was the first time people got to experience this. But then, of course, later on in the year, we're talking October 2019, Japan gets a physical-only Genesis release just in Japan. And then earlier in that year, Strictly Limited announced an 8-week pre-order window for the PS4 and Switch versions, which would come out in 2020, along with the digital versions of the PS4, Switch, and Vita versions. So all these platforms got their versions. Like I said, the PS4 and Switch physical versions are no longer for sale. You can get them on eBay still. We'll go over those buying options later. Okay. Now, fast forward to present day, the PS5 version is in development. It still isn't released digitally, but you can now go onto strictlylimitedgames.com and pre-order the PS5 physical version collector's edition, which is going for 44.99 euros, or basically 45 US, or about 60 Canadian. And this includes a lot of goodies which are not actually included in the PS4 version I have right here. So this is the one that you can still get on eBay. And it had the manual, it had like an art card and some cool stuff. But then the PS5 version is going to have a lot more. It's going to have like a big box collector's version, 2 CD soundtracks. It's going to have a single CD soundtrack with the 1994 soundtrack, and then a double CD with the 2019 edition, in addition to some stickers, a poster, and all that cool stuff. So you can get that right now. There's only like 1,000 copies left, about 97% of the stock remaining as of the recording of this video. So get on there before it's gone. Also, if you're not looking for the PS5 version, you'd rather opt for the PS4 or the Switch or even that Genesis version, I went on eBay. I noticed that the PS4 and Genesis versions are going for about 75 US and up, and the Switch version is going for about 85 US and up. So not too bad, still around the $100 mark, but I would get these before they get a little more insane. Man, this game, you know, I definitely recommend it if you like to get your butt kicked and you're into very hardcore precision experiences, because this game will make you feel like a champion once you actually master it. It was funny, my girlfriend was sitting beside me while I was playing this last level and getting brutalized, and I told her, this really does feel like a dance. Once you get used to the rhythm and the flow of what the developers intended you to do here, it feels like a dance, and more importantly, it feels like learning a very difficult song where you just gotta get every note right and keep going it over and over till you finally get it. And you will eventually finish this, but it's gonna knock you upside the head quite a few times until you get there. That said, so satisfying, a really cool piece of history that finally got preserved that we may not have ever gotten to play. So I recommend this if you're into like the old school Turrican Contra stuff and you like a little bit of bite to your gaming experience. This is definitely something for you. Thank you for watching the 18th episode of The Collecting Confidant with your host Gunstar Hero. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Later, game chasers, and peace.